Live from Citizen TV, this is Friday Night with Lillian Mooney.
Good evening and many thanks for joining us tonight as we look into matters Nyota. The National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement project is in its second phase and money has started being given out towards business support. We'll be talking to MSME PS Susan Mangeni right here in studio to unpack issues around Nyota. Who are the beneficiaries? How is the money being given out and how do they stand to benefit? Emmanuel, how are you?
I'm very good. Good evening, everyone watching at home. My name is Emmanuel Ndungu. I'll be going through the sports news a little bit later with you as usual. We have a lot to get into. We have an update in the Kenya Premier League, a few of them, and golf to look forward to later on as well. So please stay tuned.
Looking forward to that, Emmanuel. Let's take a look at stories making headlines tonight.
Is barbaric, it is unacceptable, it's inhuman, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal. And I must say that that is not what we expect of our police service.
Night of police madness, outrage over shock beatings in Nandi. Interior CS Murkomen condemns act as barbaric. 7 people reportedly dead as President Museveni takes a commanding lead with opposition presidential candidate Bobby Wine placed under house arrest.
Most of the parents go back with their students and maybe they could want to find an alternative if there is a place where they can go.
Where are the learners? Empty classrooms mark the lapse of the grade 10 admission deadline, with barely half of the expected learners reporting to senior secondary schools.
This year, we will be building a new world-class airport.
Chasing the Singapore dream, President Ruto says construction plans for a new world-class airport are on course. Good evening. Many thanks for joining us. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Yula Nzale. Tonight, we begin our Friday night bulletin with disturbing news of another case of police brutality caught on camera. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority and the Internal Affairs Unit have launched investigations into an incident where police officers believed to be from the Rapid Deployment Unit were seen assaulting a group of young men playing pool at an entertainment joint on the 10th of January. Using batons and sticks, the officers terrorized the young men for the offense of being out past 11 p.m. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, who has condemned the incident, says the officers involved will be arrested, charged and dismissed. Gatete Njoroge reports.
What was meant to be an evening of relaxation at a pool joint in Nandi Hills town after a long week at work turned into a night of horror for residents on January 10th. Overzealous police officers landed at this joint with one mission: terrorize everyone on sight and leave a mark of remembrance. Armed with batons, sticks and guns, the group of 10 officers descended on the young men. All this brutality being meted on people who had obeyed an order for them to lie down. For 6 minutes, their play area was turned to a torture chamber. Nothing could save them from the wrath of the officers. A week later, no action has been taken. This is despite most victims still nursing injuries sustained when the officers went rogue.
Wakatuambia tutoe ID. Mimi nikatoa yangu. Wakaniambia pita hivi. Wakati mimi napita, mmoja akanigonga hapo kwa mkono. Hadi saa hii sijapona. Nikarudi. Ikabidi nimelala na wakaendelea kutuchapa. So hatuelewi tulikuwa tumekosea nani.
Wakati nilipika makoti wakaanza kunipiga. Wakanipiga kwa mkongo hapa karibu na spinal cord, alafu wakanifunja mkono, wakanizungusha mkono hivi.
Wakanipata hapa, wakanipiga, wakaniambia unaweza lala flat. Nikaambia hapana, nini mbaya afande, sikujua hata ni RDU.
Residents say the operation, which caused widespread fear, was well coordinated. The crackdown went beyond entertainment joints. Anyone found outside faced the consequences. Boda operators and local traders were not spared. Targeted by officers believed to be from the Rapid Deployment Unit, deployed in Tinderet.
Hata kuna mama alikuwa kwa biashara yake anauza sambuza, lakini walimpiga paka huyo mama, wakamwaka sambuza zake, wakapiga teke paka. Wanapiga teke paka na maumbo zenye hazikuwa na makosa, hatia gani umbo ilikuwa nayo mpaka wakapiga teke.
Bado tunauliza kama wakaaji wa Nandi, in whose interest are this RTU unit in Tinderet?
Victims have since recorded statements at Nandi Hills Police Station, where officers are investigating the incident.
Wanaandikisha ripoti, and then from there statements andikwe. And I'm happy to say that we'll also want to invite internal affairs team maybe to come and take over the matter.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has condemned the officers' actions, calling them barbaric and unacceptable, and vowed that those involved will face the full force of the law.
Those officers who will be found to have committed that act will be arrested, they will be charged, and I can assure you that they will also lose their jobs if they are found to be guilty. We must, in such cases, we must show that the National Police Service and the government of Kenya does not condone police brutality.
Meanwhile, IPOA and the Internal Affairs Unit have commenced investigations into the incident by taking statements from victims and witnesses. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
And now to neighboring Uganda. 7 people have been reported killed in post-election unrest in Uganda's central region. According to police, at the same time, opposition leader Bobi Wine says he is under house arrest, surrounded by security forces, as provisional results show President Yoweri Museveni taking a commanding lead with 6 million votes, followed by Bobi Wine with 1.7 million of the tallied votes. Melita Oletenges reports.
As vote tallying is underway in Uganda, 7 deaths have been reported amid post-election related violence in Uganda's central region. The deaths have been confirmed by the police. Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission has released its 4th official update since counting began. Out of 8 presidential candidates, the ruling NRM candidate and incumbent President Yoweri Museveni is leading with 6.3 million votes. His closest challenger, National Unity Platform leader Bobi Wine, trails with about 20% or 1.7 million votes.
Now, this is the summary of the total votes per candidate so far.
However, Bobi Wine has rejected the results, accusing the Electoral Commission of failing to explain how the totals were reached without publishing results from individual polling stations. Through his X account, the opposition leader claimed the process lacks transparency and credibility. Bobi Wine also says he has been confined to his home under house arrest since vote counting began, alleging that security forces stormed his residence, jumping over the perimeter wall. He says neither he nor his family members are allowed to leave.
His home was surrounded by the army and police last evening. He is not able to interact with his agents. But number 2 is that his home is not a gazetted place of detention. If he has committed any crime, there is a due process. He can be arrested, arraigned in court, and dealt with in accordance with the law.
Human rights activists from Uganda and Kenya have condemned what they describe as a deeply flawed and oppressive election process, accusing President Museveni of suppressing democratic freedoms and manipulating the vote.
The Electoral Commission is completely not in charge. It's either the military and the police and, of course, the regime, the bosses.
When you talk about the observers, I think they should not sanitize this crime scene at this particular point in time.
The United States government has issued a security alert warning American citizens in Uganda to exercise caution as unrest continues. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
A family in Thika's Makongeni estate is demanding answers tonight following the tragic and mysterious death of 23-year-old Moniko Paul. The young man reportedly fell from the 5th floor of his apartment during a police operation, leaving his family questioning how such a tragedy could occur. According to the family, officers raided his home last evening on an undisclosed mission. The circumstances of his fall have sparked serious concerns about the conduct of the police, with relatives alleging he may have been pushed. Franklin Wala reports.
23-year-old Dek Moniko Paul was full of life until Thursday evening, when events took a fatal turn. His family says the young man fell from the 5th floor of an apartment in Thika, less than a kilometer from Makongeni police station. According to reports, police from Makongeni station had reportedly raided the house where Dek was with 2 others. In the chaos that followed, he fell to the ground and died.
Because they were 3 in the same house, and they broke that house and entered the house because the house was closed from the inside.
Sasa ndo after sometimes ndo wale manage kuvunja hii mlango. Akaingia ndani, akaanza kuwafuruga huko ndani. Wakaanza kukimbizana nao polisi huko juu, wanaenda ni kama hide and seek, wanaenda east side hivi hivyo. Sasa kidogo mimi kuna jamaa anashuka, sasa jini niliendelea.
His body was later collected from the apartment and taken to General Cargo Mortuary, where an autopsy confirmed the cause of death as blunt force trauma from multiple injuries.
The chest, the ribs are fractured. We have a fracture on the pelvis, mild. We have a bruise on the heart. We have bruises on the lungs, most on the right one.
From the postmortem, it says there are soft tissue injuries, which cannot be from a fall. So if the investigation can be done thoroughly, then we'll be able to know what really happened.
The incident has sparked outrage, with the Dek's family insisting he was pushed by officers. They are now calling on the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, and other agencies to conduct a thorough investigation.
So we don't know whether they pushed him or they killed him in the roof before throwing him down. That is why we want to get justice.
Despite their doubts about the ongoing investigation at Thika West Police Station, the family plans to take Dek's body to Migori for burial. Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
Now, the death of Amos Isoka following a botched tooth extraction in Kawangware raises a difficult question. Who failed him? Amos did not just die from a dental procedure gone wrong. He died because a system neglected its duty. Tonight, the Kenya Dental Association is pointing fingers at the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, KMPDC, the very body tasked with monitoring and acting against unlicensed practitioners. Yet in this case, it did nothing. As Ode Francis reports, no government health or security agency has made a comment on Isoka's death, nor confirmed whether the suspect has been arrested.
Amos Isoka's death, caused by a quack doctor, has sparked serious questions about accountability. This was not just a medical mistake. It exposed weaknesses in a system meant to protect patients. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, KMPDC, is the national body responsible for licensing and inspecting health facilities. Every year, it reminds registered practitioners to renew their licenses, yet enforcement remains inconsistent. The fees are clear: 15,000 for level 1 to 3 facilities, 10,000 for general doctors, and 15,000 for specialists. But what happens when a facility never had a license to begin with? KMPDC is meant to be more than a licensing body. It is a watchdog, and when watchdogs sleep, people die.
We have quacks who never went to school, who operate out there. We have assistants
who work with us and who want to operate as doctors. In Kenya, we have about 2,000 dentists for 55 million Kenyans. Dentists are employed in public sector and private sector. But unfortunately, services access is very limited. Most of the public hospitals in most county governments do not have enough dentists. They probably have 1 or 2 dentists. And that makes dental services very highly in demand.
Despite its mandate, KMPDC failed to detect or shut down Life Clinic, an unlicensed facility operating in Kawangware for 3 years until Amos Isoka's tragic death brought it to light.
In the last year, we've had about 26 complaints of persons who reach out to Kenya Dental Association, reporting complaints that we forward to the Kenya Medical Practitioner and Dentists Council, because it is a body that is supposed to go and investigate. But so far, we are yet to get any reports from the KMPDC regarding dental malpractice issues.
In Nairobi, we have over 3,000 health facilities, but due to resource constraints, we only have 3 inspectors. Instances come abruptly, we are able to address them at that particular point. That is what you may call what you are calling knee-jerk, but it's actually not knee-jerk. It's responding to an immediate need.
The Kenya Dental Association KDA has condemned the incident, calling for urgent reforms. In a public statement, they demand stricter regulations, frequent inspections, and public awareness to prevent such tragedies.
That whenever you have a dental issue, however minor, you don't have to wait until it worsens out. And if it does happen so, you're having such a dental situation, go see a qualified dental practitioner.
Once you enter a clinic, the first thing you should look for is the clinic registration certificate, or at a minimum, their current operating license. Even the law says it should be prominently displayed.
On New Year's Day 2026, Amos Isoka walked into Life Clinic with a toothache. The man who treated him was not a licensed dentist. Within 24 hours, Amos developed severe swelling in his neck and chest. He was rushed to Kenyatta National Hospital, where he underwent 2 emergency surgeries, but he lost the battle before the 3rd surgery. The man responsible for Amos Isoka's death may still be walking free. Security agencies have remained mum on whether the unlicensed practitioner has even been arrested. As family prepares to lay him to rest, it will not be lost to Kenyans that Amos Isoka's death was not an accident. It was the result of a system that failed to protect him. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now to other health matters, and health services in Nairobi have been paralyzed after nurses and laboratory technologists joined clinicians and doctors in the ongoing strike. The industrial action involving all cadres of healthcare workers is over what they describe as persistent salary delays. The strike has forced cash-strapped hospital administrators to rely on local medics in a bid to keep services running, with some saying they are now forced to choose between purchasing drugs and other medical supplies or paying doctors. As Mary Morki reports, the Nairobi County government has termed the strike illegal and directed healthcare workers to resume duty within 12 hours or face disciplinary action.
Healthcare delivery in most public hospitals in Nairobi County remains severely disrupted due to an ongoing strike by healthcare workers. Doctors downed their tools on December 18th, followed by clinical officers on December 23rd. And now, 25 days later, nurses and lab technicians have also joined the strike, effectively paralyzing services across the county. Hospitals such as Mbagathi Level 5 are buckling under the strain. As a referral facility, it is unable to cope with the patient influx, resulting in long queues, minimal services and deserted corridors. At Mutuini Sub-County Hospital in Dagoretti South, services are still available, but at a heavy financial cost, with management forced to hire local medics to keep the facility running.
So one of the things that has really affected us as an institution is we have now to look for more money to pay the locumers so that they can sustain us during this strike. We have 4 doctors on locum. We have 3 anesthetists for theatre, so our theatre is 24 hours. We are able to operate mothers that are coming at every day, 24 hours.
All we demand is done right.
Healthcare workers in Nairobi have accused Governor Johnson Sakaja's administration of repeatedly failing to address their welfare concerns, leading to recurrent and prolonged strikes that have severely disrupted public health services. Patients living with chronic illnesses are among the most affected by the ongoing industrial action.
One of the other things we are fearing is these patients who have chronic conditions, because now we are not able to access consultants. Since consultants are also on strike, that has a ripple effect on the patient status. Probably when the strike is over, we have now to come up with a strategy to mitigate against these patients.
The Sakaja administration has urged striking healthcare workers to resume duty, issuing ultimatums and threatening disciplinary action. However, union officials insist they will not return to work until all outstanding payments are cleared and their grievances addressed through tangible action. They argue that the Sakaja administration has presided over more healthcare strikes than previous county governments. Mary Moki, Citizen TV.
To education matters now, and the final day for admission of grade 10 learners into senior secondary school has been marked by a continued low turnout, especially in cluster 4 schools across parts of the country. Some schools are recording single-digit admissions, while others have received less than half of their allocated learners, raising fears of inadequate government capitation that could cripple school operations. At the same time, some parents are reporting to boarding schools without the required boarding fees, further compounding the transition challenge. This could leave hundreds of thousands of learners at home as learning begins next week. Brenda Wanga reports.
Grade 10 learners joining senior schools across the country had 5 days to complete their admissions. And on the 5th day, they were still streaming into schools across the country. In Kisii County, parents were making that last dash to ensure their children secured admission. Regina Mixed School, a cluster 4 boarding and day school, had been allocated some 400 learners. Only some parents were in for a surprise when they showed up with day school admission letters. The letters only indicated the tuition fee covered by the government. It is a situation experienced across some other day and boarding schools. Administrators who sought anonymity say this has affected enrollment.
A serious contribution to low turnout, in the sense that these parents, when a parent comes to school with a student, has done shopping, but no school fees for the boarding facilities, then most of the parents go back with their students. And maybe they could want to find an alternative if there is a place where they can go without paying a coin.
The Basic Education PS, however, says the school fees policy remains unchanged. Day secondary school tuition fees remains 100% the government's responsibility, while parents pay for the boarding component even in C4 schools. Other schools continue to register low numbers. Saina Mixed Schools in Kajiado had expected 135 grade 10 learners to join the school. By today, only 8 had shown up. A neighboring school had expected at least 20. Only 4 had shown up by Friday. St. Paul's Tombe School in Nyamira currently has 18 learners out of an expected 90 grade 10 students. Kipkelion Girls in Kericho has registered 230 out of a target of 400 learners. Parents say school fees challenges remain the main hindrance.
Tunaambiwa serikali inalipa pesa, lakini tufika shuleni tunaitishwa pesa nyingi, 20,000 na wanasema serikali inalipa zingine.
Shule ilifunguliwa Monday, mtoto angeripoti Monday, lakini hatakuwa na karo, ila tu tumepata kidogo, tumekuja naye mpaka hapa Cape Kelion.
There are some also who are placed for us and they left because they opted to go to schools near to their homes because this is purely a day school.
School administrators say they had prepared to host the learners. They are also worried about the impact that these low numbers will have on the general operations of their schools.
No more overheads of the school are still running. That is
when it comes to the salaries of staff members, maintaining electricity, water, and most of these other things, the maintenance of the buildings. And without capitation, it will be very difficult to manage the schools.
The government remained confident that the intended 100% transition of learners to grade 10 will be achieved ahead of the commencement of learning next week. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Staying with education, hundreds of thousands of learners are yet to report to senior secondary schools as financial hardship continues to weigh heavily on families across the country. A spot check by Citizen TV found some parents walking door to door in a desperate bid to raise school fees, while others remain at home uncertain about the future of their children's academic journeys. Even as the Ministry of Education considers extending the reporting deadline for grade 10 learners, it remains unclear whether affected families will be able to raise the required fees. Laura Otieno reports.
As the window for reporting to senior secondary school closed on Friday, scores of would-be grade 10 learners are stuck at home. Deep in Nyangusu village, Kisii County, 14-year-old Ernest Nyasimi and his father set out on a 100-kilometer trek to Tenwek Senior Secondary School in Bomet County, armed only with his calling letter. They hope to try their luck in gaining admission, even though they have no money to pay school fees.
I want to create awareness that there are students who are not going to join secondary schools because of lacking school fees. Our president, William Ruto, I know you are a good person. You love helping students to change school. Please help me change school.
In Kisumu, Beatrice Akinyi walked 10 kilometers to the Royal Media Services office in the hope of getting a well-wisher to support her daughter raise fees to join Kadika Senior Secondary School. Her incessant efforts to secure a scholarship for her daughter bore no fruit.
Nikisikia hivi wenye wasachukua mtoto yangu na baki hapa. Nasema mama, siku gani nitaenda shule? Sasa nitafanya nini mtoto yangu? Nifanye nini? Nipeleke wewe shule na nini?
Kama nakaa nyumbani kaona watu wanaenda shule na sasa vibaya sana. Kwa sababu sijui hata lini nitaenda shule. Mangu ana chochote kunipeleka shule. Ndio maana nasikia vibaya hivyo hadi siwezi kula. Nasikia vibaya sana. Nasikia vibaya, tafadhali mnipeleke tu shule, tafadhali.
In Makueni County, Victor Mbethe lines up his items. After selling some of their rabbits, his mother could only afford some personal effects. For now, his academic future hangs in the balance. These few belongings stand as a testament to his efforts and, if not nurtured, a reminder of what might have been.
Tukanunua vitu kama neti, lakini bado kuna vitu zile mingi na kubwa hatujanunua kama viatu za shule. So tunahitaji school fees.
Nataka kuwa daktari ndio nikafanya STEM. Nikiendelea kukaa hapa, mimi naona sitapasiu career yangu.
Thousands of parents and their children remain at a crossroads. For some, tears flow. For others, life is taken only one day at a time as they cling to hope that the government will offer a lifeline by fully implementing the 100% transition policy one way or another. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
We're taking a short break now, and we have much more coming up, including details into the Nyota project. Who are the beneficiaries? 18 years to 29 years old. That is the youth of the country. So a nationwide cash support for persons aged between 18 to 29. We'll be getting more details into this. Take a look at what's coming up. Coming up, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Principal Secretary Susan Mangeni breaks down the Nyota project, how it works, who qualifies, and how thousands of Kenyan youth stand to benefit. Thanks for staying with us. President William Ruto says the process of building a new world-class airport will begin this year, aimed at opening up Kenya to global investment and tourism. Speaking to members of the Dawoodi Bora community in Nairobi, the head of state said the country's journey towards first world status will be unstoppable, thanks in part to the community, which has invested heavily in education and healthcare. Emmanuel Tor reports.
During a meeting with the Dawoodi Bora community's spiritual leader, His Holiness Syedna Mufadal Saifuddin in Karen, Nairobi, President William Ruto pressed the pedal on his journey to Singapore, announcing plans to add another international state-of-the-art airport to the list of airports in Kenya.
That this year, we will be building a new world-class airport that will support not just Kenya as a hub in our region, not just our tourism sector, not just our conference sector, but also our business.
The new airport is expected to ease congestion at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport after a previous partnership deal with India's Adani Group collapsed. President William Ruto then sought the support of the Dawoodi Bora community in driving his 5 trillion shilling plan to transform Kenya into a first world country.
That with your partnership, your support, and as we build synergy across this nation, we will be able to transform our nation.
We see the roadmap you have laid out, focusing on infrastructure, employment, and dignity for every citizen. And the entire Dawoodi Bora community of Kenya stand ready to support this national mission.
The head of state reiterating the space of science subjects in schools in anchoring the plan to turbocharge Kenya into the future.
Our plan and target is to make sure that 60% of learners engage in the STEM space.
The Bora community in Kenya has been active in popularizing cricket, thus contributing to Kenya's sporting culture.
The values that this community holds are values that we need in our country.
The Dawoodi Bora community is a Shia Muslim group of Indian Gujarati origin. Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
In Mwea, residents took to the streets Friday demanding the release of former Member of Parliament Peter Gitau Njuguna, who was allegedly abducted by individuals believed to be security officers. The family says Gitau was at his Nakuru home on Wednesday night when men in a Subaru and 2 Probox vehicles parked outside his gate. He reportedly sought help from local police officers who arrived but left after a brief interaction with the men. Despite reporting the matter to the DCI in Nakuru and at its headquarters, the family says the former MP is yet to be traced.
Tarehe 14 saa 8 ya usiku upande wa Nakuru uko anakaa. Sasa sisi family tuko na machozi mingi, tunalilia serikali imwachilia mahali pote yako.
Mbunge wetu ambaye alikuwa mbunge 2007 to 2017 alikamatwa na watu hawajulikani, wanasemekana ni DCI. Kama Gitau amekosea serikali ama amekosea mtu individual, wacha Gitau apelekwe kotini, tupatane kotini na mawakili zetu. Na kama Gitau ameshikwa kwa sababu ya mambo zingine ya kisiasa, atuendi chini sisi.
Now, the National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement Nyota project has entered phase 2 of its business support component with a nationwide rollout across 27 counties. The program targets unemployed youth aged between 18 and 29 and up to 35 years for persons living with disabilities, and is designed to enhance youth employability, enterprise development, and promote a culture of saving. Tonight, we speak to the Principal Secretary for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development, Susan Mangeni, to help us better understand how the Nyota project works. Good evening.
Thank you, Molly.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, we want to catch up with the latest developments since you were here, PS, and just looking at what's been happening in several counties in this week alone. I want to know, the rollout of this cash support to young people under the Nyota project. Who exactly is getting this money, and when these persons show up to receive the funds, how do you ensure that the targeted youth, those 18 to 29 years old, are the actual beneficiaries that will receive these funds?
Thank you, Lillian. And once again, Happy New Year. And thank you for hosting me again. Now, this is twice I'm meeting you here. So, and I'm sure you're asking about the business support component of Nyota, because we have other components, including recognition of prior learning. We have on-job experience, which are targeting to skill young people. Some of them link them up to, industries and sectors, businesses where they can acquire skills through practical experience, but we'll come into that. But first of all, on the business support, because I know this is where now we have lots of excitement. Where are we now? So far we have trained, we have done the first phase of mandatory business development, classroom training across the country to all the targeted beneficiaries. These are 100,000 that have been drawn across the 1,450 wards in the Republic of Kenya. Of course, young people aged between 18 to 29 years and up to 35 for persons with disability. And then also we have a segment where we are also taking care of refugees, some of the vulnerable youths who are within the Republic of Kenya. In the two gazetted refugee camps of Dadaab and Kakuma, their onboarding is currently taking place. We will target to support about 5,000. And then of course now, so where are we now? We have done the training. So the way this project is designed, the young people go through a very comprehensive training program. In fact, Nyota is anchored around capacity building, business development, mentorship, so that we get to then form an entrepreneur. Because starting a business requires not just capital alone, but requires a supportive ecosystem, which includes skilling, networking, linkages, and then mentorship as well as counseling. So where are we? We have trained across the country, and now we are doing disbursement of the first tranche of the startup capital. Remember, this particular component will grant young people 50,000, which is not repayable. It's to put into their business to launch their business career, and then from there, then they can be introduced in the ecosystem where they can access in future enhanced funding to expand and grow their business. So we then, the first phase of disbursement was during the launch, and this was with regard to the first cluster, which was Western Kenya, which had 4 counties of Bungoma, Busia, Vihiga, and Kakamega. Last year, November 7th, 2025. So over 12,155 to be precise, we disbursed to them more than 300, actually to be specific, 303 million that we disbursed to 12,155 in November last year. So then we came into the second phase. By that time, the training had commenced in the rest of the counties across the country. So now, again, we have now the second phase, which is targeting about 29 counties, as you've already put it. We have already done 26 counties, a total now, including the Western, as of yesterday when we were in Makueni, when we were in Machakos for the lower Eastern cluster, that is Kitui, Machakos, and Makueni. And so on Monday, we'll be doing the Nairobi cluster that includes Nairobi County, Kiambu, and then Kajiado, and we expect to benefit more than 10,000, actually it's 10,000, almost 10,300 beneficiaries drawn from those counties. And then in this second phase, we'll be remaining with Meru, and then Meru cluster that has Meru, Embu, and Tharaka Nithi. Tharaka Nithi counties which we look forward to maybe in the course of next week to have benefited. Then from there we will come up with a schedule for the remainder of the counties, which most of them are in Nyanza, of course Nyanza, both the Kisii and these other, the Luo region. In the Gusiland and the Luo Nation, and then of course the coastal region and northeastern, so we'll be remaining with those three regions to disperse to. So far, how we've been able to benefit 48,388 beneficiaries, and a total of 1.2 billion, over 1.2 billion has already been dispersed to them. The beneficiaries are getting 22,000 immediately through the Pochi la Biashara. 3,000 is going to their saving. Why did we decide on disbursing through Pochi la Biashara? Because Pochi la Biashara, it is loaded with business digital tools. We have there what we call stake talking suite inside the Pochi la Biashara. So to enable these beneficiaries to do their stock taking, we have reconciliation. They can do the daily reconciliation of their transaction. They can also from time to time do their P&L. And it helps them now to put the records together so that in future, when they want probably to access a facility outside Nyota, they now have records. They just download the records and they take it to the financial institution.
Thanks for that breakdown, PS. Before we get into what the 25,000 is expected to cover, let's talk about logistically the fact that we're seeing some of these young people coming from far-flung counties. You know, some of them, and you know, also there's been cluster counties that have been brought together, such as the case that we saw in Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Nyandarua. So talking about logistics, who is covering these costs? How are these costs being covered, seeing that you have a tranche of young people coming from different parts of the country and converging in one place?
So I remember when I was here, first time you hosted me here, you asked me how shall we ensure that this money reaches out to the intended people. So the disbursement forum, the way we are disbursing in public, first of all, is to create transparency and accountability around here. You people, you can see that indeed these are beneficiaries, and I know even the citizen, you've been covering this event live, and you're able to interact with the beneficiaries, and you pick their insight, you pick their stories and the expectation. It is very important. It is part of an extended mentorship session, and you see even the way we work out that particular session is that we get to speak to these young people, and then also they need to understand and to have the comfort that the nation cares for us, the government cares for us, other stakeholders, that our leaders will care for us, and they are committing to support us to unlock the business environment so that it becomes more easier for us to do our business. You've seen where we've gone across the country. You've seen governors really embracing them and inviting them and telling them that, look, we are going to give you some exemption, waiver, probably for the first 1 year of those licensing. We are going to provide
So how they get there is their business.
So how they get there, we are bringing them there.
Okay.
These are our people. We have invested in it, and we want them to, so they're not using their own logistics. So we are supporting them to bring them there, to make sure we talk to them the same way we've been supporting them to come for training. The way we've designed their program, when you're going for training, we make sure we also give you transport, we give you lunch, we give you what, because this is a very deliberate process, because forming an entrepreneur from the scratch, it requires a lot of support around them, because these are vulnerable. Remember, they're vulnerable, and most of them marginalized. They're seeing these opportunities for the first time. I've gone to places like Boni Forest, where people dread even to go there. But these young people have come out in large numbers and saying, we are willing to turn around the economic landscape of this area. Imagine 70 young entrepreneurs in Boni Forest, in that Basuba ward. in somewhere in Mandera, somewhere in Wajir, somewhere in Busia, they are likely to turn around the economic landscape of the, and this is how societies develop.
Right. Now, let's look at the figures. 25,000 PS. What is this supposed to cover for a young entrepreneur? And, you know, there's been criticism around how much that can really do for a startup, how much can really do for somebody who already has an existing business. But once the beneficiaries receive the funds, what obligations do they have? And from, the Nyota, management or even the government in itself, how do you ensure that the money goes into the intended cause?
So first of all, the money in which you are disbursing the money. Remember, we say this money is being disbursed digitally, but through a wallet that is already loaded with business tools to enable them and to help us also to track how they are transacting with the money. The wallet, the Nyota wallet, Pochi La Biashara, which has been worked out by our technology service provider, is also ensuring that this money is ring-fenced from other digital loan obligation, so that now you get your money, you do business. If you have Fuliza, Haitaenda, if you have, even our Hustler Fund, it is ring-fenced from there. Now you'll be able to pay off Fuliza or Hustler Fund any obligation from the proceeds you'll get from your profits once. So already we are making sure that you get your full package to start off your business. But what can 22,000 do, or 50,000, because the whole package eventually is 50,000 do? I want just to refer you to the testimonies we are getting during this disbursement forum. And they've been live. We've seen young people talking about, like yesterday in Machakos, if I can recall, we had a young person who said, look, where I live, we've had issues about garbage the way they done. I'm thinking of starting a garbage collection business, and I can be able to buy like the packages and those kind of things to put in the estates where people will do that. 22,000 can enable them to do the bins, to buy the bins for the trash and the dustbins for doing that. 22,000, we've had people, some of them, especially young ladies, saying, look, there's opportunities in the cosmetic industries, and I can begin from somewhere at least to buy some of these products that are needed. Some are in the salon are saying 22,000, I can be able to add stock and buy products and put there. Let me tell you, someone who has a business mind, and most of these beneficiaries, actually all of them, they're coming out of the training, and this training was a mandatory training armed with a business plan. If you're already in existing business, most of them have been telling us the training has enabled them to look at business differently. Even some of the things that they were taking for granted, they're able to separate their own money from the money for businesses, so they're gaining knowledge. So we are not just giving them money, they already have a plan. And the reason why we decentralize even the training to go to the grassroots level, to the centers closer to these people, so that they get to appreciate opportunities which are already there and how to leverage on existing resources to do this. So most of the testimonies we've gotten from these people, they're saying that money is enough for them.
And P.S., looking at the, just so that we can, cover what we have to discuss here, in the interest of time, I want to talk about the key intervention areas, just looking at 4 of them, which include skills certification, business support, youth savings, and strengthening youth employment systems. Looking at the unemployment situation in this country, when we talk about improving youth employability, the question that begs is how different and how does this differ from TVET training? We already have TVET institutions in the country. So when you talk about the Nyota project, improving youth employability, how does this differ from the TVET? And are people who are actually graduates of TVET, certified by TVETs, also able to qualify for the Nyota support?
So improving youth or enhancing youth employability, number one, has got 2 tracks. The first one is recognizing the existing skills, the existing knowledge, the existing experience. So we are having our young people who are not even able, remember the project first of all is targeting people who have not advanced beyond the Form 4 level of education, the secondary level of education. So these are people also who did not get an opportunity to go to TVET. I know we have village polytechnics where probably you'll find someone dropped out and went there, so they have those skills, but then the probably the kind of certificate which they have it cannot enable them to access a competitive opportunity outside there now. Look, you have, let's say, someone in the construction sector like a plumber who already knows how to do. Let me use the best example, like the salon for the ladies. So we have ladies who are born with talents and they can do the hair, they can do all this because they have not gotten an opportunity to go to a formal education system to gain enhanced skills. But by just observing in that spaces how these things are done, they're already experts. What stands in between them and a competitive job opportunity is the certificates, is the papers that are needed. Because yes, if you got a job here, your papers first of all spoke about your CV. So what we do, we identify them, we assess the skills through even TVET. NITA is working closely with TVET because then TVET has got that space. They assess the existing skills. Then after that, they're given the certification. So we certify the existing skill, give them another enhanced level of competence to enable them also to compete in the job market. Now, secondly, the other track is now attaching these people to industries, to businesses. For instance, Royal Media, there are so many young people say they are interested in becoming broadcaster. They see you here, they feel like, I want to be like Lillian Molly there. But you see, they might have a voice, they might have good articulation of issues, but they need to operate in this space. So they start learning from practical experience, observation, helping you. They'll be pushing cameras here and here as they gain skills. And you train them because you attach around them master craftsmen who will train them day to day. And then how we are supporting them so that they maintain that consistency is that there is a stipend, at least a monthly stipend, to provide them with transport to come so that they maintain the consistent to gain more skills and experience, to become experts. While they're here, they'll also get to learn other net opportunities in the sector because now they become part and parcel of this sector, the media sector, they learn. So we have that group of young people who wants to learn on job, and that's targeting 90,000 across the country again. The recognition of prior learning is targeting 20,000 just to certify. But also, we have other opportunities like we're talking about labor.
Yeah.
Mobility, where you find most of the requests, maybe someone requires a driver, and we have so many young people who know how to drive. They are competent, but they don't have papers to show that. So those are some of the people that are benefiting in skilling and the retailing initiative that we have.
Preparing them for the job market.
Yeah.
And then question, and if we could just keep it very brief, because people have asked this question, PS. Critics have raised concern that Nyota launches, especially those attended by the president, are turning into political platforms ahead of 2027, and really comparing it to the Hustler Fund, looking at this as campaign gimmicks rather than, development initiatives, and, just seeing this as sort of undermining the profile of the Nyota project. What would you say to that?
But let me ask you, what part of those forums and those sessions is political? We are inviting all our leaders. Yesterday we were in Machakos. We sent out invitation to all political leaders within that cluster, to all governors, to all senators, to all MPs, members of parliament. You're looking at the beneficiaries. We are not selecting even beneficiaries based on their political position. And you've been able to see Nakuru, you've seen even those ones that are even hardcore critics of the current administration. They're also benefiting from there. We are creating a platform. One, and you say comparing to Hustler Fund. You see how we continue getting beating in Hustler Fund because it is so silent. It is you and the individual beneficiaries. There is no public, there's no seeing and believing from the public. And many people, today I keep on explaining, these are the number of people, 27, that have benefited from Hustler Fund. Lillian Muli will ask me, where are those people? But today, it is in open. You can see those young people and you see how they're the feeling that they're also considered and valued by the government, by the society, as we get to welcome them in our economy, is very important, is very inspiring, and it will help them to take on that journey courageously and to make sure that they consolidate the necessary support they need to thrive in their business. So there is no politics about. There's nobody who has stopped even the opposition leaders to join our forums.
Right.
They can come and talk to these young people. We have no problem. The president is welcoming him, also being a business person, because we all know who rose from humble beginning and being the head of state. His presence there is also encouraging to these young people that there will be a conducive environment that will grow their business.
And we wish all the young, budding entrepreneuring spirits in this country all the very best under the Nyota project. We've been talking to PS Susan Mangeni, Principal Secretary for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, talking matters, the National Youth Opportunities Towards Advancement Nyota project, which has entered phase 2 of its business support component. Many thanks, PS. We'll be right back after the break. Stock business, the Kenya Revenue Authority has intercepted contraband cigarettes worth over 281 million at the port of Mombasa. According to the authority, the contraband was made up of over 9.3 million sticks of contraband cigarettes with a market value estimated at over 281.1 million shillings, foiling an attempt to illegally import the goods in a 40-feet container. The taxman notes that the seizure was as a result of good intelligence, which saw KRA convene a multi-agency verification team, noting that it conducted a 100% physical examination to ensure compliance with tax standards and enforcement regulations. The joint inspection confirmed a consignment of 937 cartons containing 9,370,000 sticks of cigarettes, which were labeled made in Sudan, despite of the country of consignment being Cambodia. The total taxes on the goods further amounted to 83,393,000, comprising 38,417,000 shillings in excise duty and 44.9 million shillings in value-added tax. The exercise involved officers from KRA, the Port Police, Kenya Bureau of Standards, Anti-Counterfeit Agency, Port Health Services, and Kenya Ports Authority. And the Kenya Sugar Board will have to freeze elections for farmers' representation after the High Court in Kakamega postponed the hearing of a petition challenging the election. Presiding over the case on Thursday, Justice Stephen Bugi postponed the hearing after allowing an application seeking to enjoin sugarcane farmers as interested parties in the petition. The petition had been filed by a Malava-based sugarcane farmer, Boniface Masinde, who decried the sidelining of farmers from the area in the zoning process. The zoning framework for the Kenya Sugar Board elections are prescribed under the Sugar Act 2024. The petition will be heard on the 19th of March 2026. And the Kenya Association of Manufacturers has welcomed the decision by the United States House of Representatives to extend the African Growth and Opportunity Act for a further 3 years, saying the move safeguards Kenya's preferential access to the U.S. market. CAM said it remains optimistic that the bill will receive approval at the U.S. Senate and presidential stages, noting it has led sustained advocacy efforts alongside the government of Kenya and partners in the United States. The association said AGOA has delivered significant gains for Kenya's manufacturing sector, expanding access to the U.S., which now accounts for about 7% of Kenya's external market. Kenya exported goods worth 60.6 billion shillings to the U.S. in 2024, making it Africa's largest apparel exporter to the American market, with clothing accounting for about 72% of total exports. And finally, the Law Society of Kenya wants half of the government's planned sale of its 15% stake in Safaricom to be allocated to retail investors through the Nairobi Securities Exchange. In a memorandum to Parliament, LSK President Faith Odhiambo warned that the proposed divestiture to Vodacom would undermine national interest by surrendering government majority control, while also denying the exchequer future dividend income. The society cited concerns over unclear valuation, timing and sale structure, as well as weak protection for minority shareholders. LSK is calling for the sale to be postponed until an independent valuation and impact assessment are carried out, and has urged lawmakers to reject the sessional paper in its current form.
All right then, it's time for the sports news. Just after the break, we have some action in the Kenya Premier League and golf to look forward to as well, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the programme. My name is Emmanuel Ndungu. Let's get into the sports news. Striker John Mark Makwata came back to haunt his former club, Ulinzi Stars, when he scored the lone goal in Mathare United's 1-0 win over Ulinzi. Makwata, who signed for Mathare this month, was brought down in the box in the first half and stepped up to convert the penalty. Mathare's win lifts them to 11th in the league with 21 points. Ulinzi remain in 14th. The match was the first in round 17 of the Kenya Premier League, with 3 more matches set for Saturday.
Anaenda kuicheza John Mark Makwata! He's back, John Mark Makwata! Mlisema sifungi!
Still on the Kenyan Premier League, 3 matches will be played tomorrow across various venues. AFC Leopards will be hunting 3 points that will take them back to the top of the league when they face APS Bomet at the Nyayo National Stadium. Tusker FC will be at home against Bandari. In Kisii, at the Gusii Stadium, Shabana FC take on troubled Sofapaka. Shabana, who drew 0-0 with Gor Mahia in their last home match, are hungry for a win that will take them into 3rd in the standings behind Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards. Sofapaka sits 2nd from bottom in the league with only 14 points. It will be a tall order, picking points from Gusii with the stakes very high, but Shabana are also cautious, playing a team in the relegation zone. Though they enjoy a capacity crowd in all their home matches, Gusii has not been a fortress this season, and Shabana have lost a couple of matches at the venue.
Tumejiprepare vizuri sisi kukabiliana na mechi ya kesho. Kila mechi kwetu si uchukulia kama finali, so kesho ni finali ingine na ni mechi ambayo itakuwa of more tactical. Ukiangalia mkufunzi wa Sofapaka ni mtu ana understand football.
Moving on, Willie Deus from Uganda held his nerve to secure his maiden Sunshine Development Tour East Africa Swing title. Deus had to fight off a new challenge on the final day, presented by Kenya's David Waku at Thika Greens on Friday. Deus, who was a joint overnight leader with Njoroge Kibugu, played rounds of 68, 68 and 72 for a total score of 5 under par to finish ahead of Kibugu and Waku, who were joint second on 4 under par. The Ugandan was a bag of nerves in the final round with bogeys on holes 2, 6 and 15. He picked only 3 birdies to finish on 1 over par 73 for the day. Njoroge played a conservative round for par with birdies on holes 6, 10, 14 and 18 and bogeys on the 7, 15, 16 and 17 to finish second.
It feels good. I mean, always a win is a win, and it always feels great after you've done your job, because we put in too much to get to put yourself in that position, you know. So if I put myself in that position and I cross the deal, always it's gonna feel great.
I didn't have my A game this week, so all in all, I'm quite happy to finish second. A bit of rust from the holidays and trying to make my way back, but I'm proud of finishing second.
The second edition of the Kenya Cup volleyball tournament entered day 2 today at the Nyayo National Stadium. The men's competition produced some fireworks, with Kenya Prisons hammering NYS 3-0 and GSU seeing off Nairobi Prisons 3-1 in an exciting opening match of the day. In other matches, on the women's side, APK were on fine form as they comfortably won 3-0 against Kapu. APK won in sets of 25-17, 26-24 and 25-20. Kenya Pipeline were also 3-0 winners over Postbank in a match that was dominated by their middle blocker Mariana Sokoyo, who claims the MVP award. Kenya Prisons were quick off the blocks as they hammered KDF Prisons 3-0. Prisons were ruthless in their first set, winning 25-12 before taking the next sets 25-20 and 25-10 in a Pool B match. The tournament that has attracted 13 men's teams and 8 women's teams continues tomorrow, with the highlights being GSU versus Giant Killers, Division 2 side, the Beast. To finish off, the Canadian government has cautioned Kenyan citizens against falling for recruitment scams ahead of the FIFA World Cup in June. Speaking in Nairobi, the Canadian Deputy Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Harpreet Kaur Char, advised that there are no stadium construction jobs available. Canada's High Commissioner to Kenya, Joshua Taba, also warned that the purchase of a ticket does not guarantee the issuance of a visa and that those planning to attend matches across the US, Mexico and Canada will need to secure visas from each of the host nations.
Canada already has the stadiums. We're not building new stadiums for the FIFA World Cup. So if someone's offering you a job as a construction worker, and that did happen at previous World Cups, it's not for this one. So if someone's saying, if you pay me this, I can get you a job visa to go to Canada to work on the World Cup, that's false. That's a scam. Don't fall for it. Tickets are being sold, but they're all being sold through the official FIFA process. It's very hard to get tickets. They're very expensive. So if someone's offering you cheap tickets to the World Cup games in Canada, again, that's a fraud. Don't fall for it.
So that's all the sports news that we have for you today. If you're a motorsports fan, you may have seen that 7-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton and his race engineer Riccardo Adami will be parting ways for the 2026 season. If you were watching last year, a few tense moments between the two where they weren't quite getting along, but Adami has moved somewhere else into the company, into the academy side. It was a tough season for Lewis Hamilton. 0 podium finishes. For Lewis Hamilton, that's a crazy statistic in 2025. But let's hope, I'm a Ferrari fan, so let's hope Ferrari can do well. Let's hope.
One is big in the country, so I'm sure.
It is, and it's really risen up in the last few years as well.
It has, it certainly has.
Yeah, so let's see what can happen this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully Ferrari can have a good car, but we'll actually have some more Formula One news coming up as we enter the season. Pre-season testing is starting, so we'll get more information on that.
Looking forward to that, Emmanuel. Many thanks for watching, guys, and that's the latest on Friday night. My name is Lilian Muli. I've been with
Emmanuel Ndumu.
and we've been with Yula Nzale, our sign language interpreter. Up next is 10 over 10 with Aziza and Gooderman. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good night.
Good night.